Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages old enough to hit it and crit it, welcome to the DMs and Dicebags podcast. I am, of course, Malatach.
And I am Bleakborn.
And I'm the potato known as Spud.
And welcome to the second episode of this illustrious podcast that only 15 people know about so far.
Well, I had 5 views on my channel, so maybe like 20 people.
Woo! We have enough for a party.
Woo!
I'm calling Bard.
Well, to be honest, 5 people's enough to have a party, so we're doing okay.
Yes. And if you guys remember, at the end of the first episode, we all posed you a question. Nobody wanted to answer. So, we're going to answer. Now, if you guys don't remember what the question was, you find yourself in a tavern. A group of albino dwarves with rainbow beards approach you and ask you, "Are you tonight's entertainment?" What do you do? Drew, Bleak, what would you do?
Well, what I would do is ask them first, what am I entertaining? And then 2, where can I get a wig like yours?
It's not a wig. These are natural born beards. How dare
How are
you
they rainbow?
Why would you ask a dwarf a personal question like that? You don't know them. That's a very personal question to a dwarf.
Well, what about you, Spud? That's my answer.
Man, I think you just insulted a dwarf.
I think so.
Okay, so the idea is that I go in, they're asking if I'm the entertainment, correct?
Yes.
While astounded by their beards, I would be almost in awe and shock. The moment they asked if I was the entertainment, my eyes would go wide, and I would turn around and go out the door.
Just like, nope, having none of this.
I cannot compete with dwarves with rainbow beards.
What about you, Mal? What's your answer?
Well, generally, I'm probably going to be playing my bard, so I'm going to spin my lute around and shoot magic out of it that turn their beards normal color, and then walk out the door.
Dick move.
Man. Rude much?
No, my theory is because if I'm the tonight's entertainment, nobody upstages the talent. Nobody.
Oh, so they were a threat to you, were they?
Of course. They're going to totally throw off all of the lighting and the fog machine that I've already got set up. I just can't have that. I don't just play for anybody. Like, I'm already started, trying to play for for a regent, and I got this new song coming out about how I talked my way, our way out of dying to a purple dragon. I mean, there's a lot of stage value with just me. I can't.
But let me pose this to you. If they are asking if you are the entertainment, would they not have probably been the proprietors?
They didn't talk to my agent.
But why would another form of entertainment ask if you were the entertainment?
If they want to hire me, they have to go through my agent. Then they have to, sit down with, we have to have a meeting. We have to have a stage plan. I mean, I'm high priority.
Mal.
Yes.
You're a diva. Knock it off.
I'm a bard.
Well, should we
Diva.
get into our news and recent D&D related activities?
Okay.
Spud, why don't you go first?
Okay, well, I may not have participated in any campaigns this last couple, much. But I did find out that Money Cook Games, do you know who they are?
Sounds familiar.
Money Cook does phenomenal art, and he was actually part of setting up like the books for D&D. I believe he did a lot of the art of them. Don't quote me on it. I might be wrong. But he left, and he started his own system, which you might be more familiar with, known as Numenera.
Ah.
He's the creator of them, and he's actually started a sort of another system, but it's completely compatible with Numenera, called The Strange, which is something that I've been looking into, and right now they're having a Kickstarter for the Strange exclusive box set edition. Sure, the Strange is already out, but right now they've actually got where you can buy a bundle of it, and for $120, it's a bit much, I know, but it comes with the box, uh, the player's book, setting book, GM book, a double-sided poster map, character creation handout, character sheet pad, signed art print, XP deck, and inbox upgrades to content added via stretch goals.
Holy shit.
And it was originally set at believe 20,000, and right now they're at 59,000 for their Kickstarter for it.
I'm pretty sure they're going to make it.
I believe they already have.
God, I haven't been on Kickstarter in so long.
Neither did I, but I'm subscribed to the Money Cook Games, and let me tell you, I'm glad I get emails from them because they have some fascinating stuff.
I feel like you're getting paid for this plug.
I am not, but I am saying that I'm actually going to be pledging some money for it because I would like to do this.
Well, I don't have any real Kickstarter-related news, but I'm still looking forward to the Behemoth to finally come out, and I can finally order one so all of you guys can face the Tarask. Just waiting for that. But unrelated to that, I forced the party to go to London 2017. It was a very interesting little session. Mal can tell you guys a little more about it.
I have so many questions. I didn't know what the hell was going on out there. I had people in tiny little boxes. We fought a purple dragon. I talked my way out of dying to a purple dragon, saving the party. Finding out later it's because I stood her up on a date before I even joined the party. So, yeah, talk about a bad date, coming back to bite you in the ass. Then more of, metaphorical, physical, literal, emotional. All of those ways. Yeah, it was pretty fun. I didn't die. Usually I'm, one of the first ones to, die or at least fall down.
Yeah, everybody else died.
Yeah, that didn't happen to me. I'm tired of dying. I'm usually the meat shield. But,
Funny for a bard to be a meat shield.
That's kind of what we've been playing as, at least for me, because I'm usually the one. I mean, I know there's no such thing as aggro in D&D, but I feel like I'm the one who's drawing all of it because I'm usually, my only one offensive spell is Vicious Mockery, where I literally just insult them. It hurts them. So they usually take exception to that.
Actually, I think it's just because you're the most boisterous one.
That too. But I mean, that's you can't write that on a character sheet. That's just DNA.
Also, I think they find you very, very loud. That's one of their biggest attractions to you, is you're loud.
Yeah, it works. It's not the barbarian screaming at the top of her lungs. It's not whatever Spud is playing. No, it's just the half-elf, with a lute, calling you a dirty motherfucker. Nope, he's the target. God, I can't wait till next level where I can actually get some offensive spells.
You're a bard, you never get offensive spells.
Bullshit. Lore bards are the most broken thing that I've watched a lot of stuff. I've watched the videos that you've sent me, Bleak. I've watched others. Lore bards are broken. They get more spells than any sorcerer or wizard. Especially with a lore bard, because I get 2 options. I get 2 free spells at 6th level, and I get 2 free spells at 10th level, and I get them again at later levels. I think 12th and 14th. It's crazy, and I get to choose from any book. That is so broken, and I love it. I love a lore bard. It's my new favorite class. But, yep. Anyway, like he said, we just got done playing a session and where we got teleported into the future. I had a cell phone. Somebody was messaging me. I probably should have looked at who it came from, but I was more confused considering our barbarian had a cell phone and a voice started speaking out of it. So I assumed that there's just little tiny people trapped in these things. Nobody knew what the hell we were talking about. We were all considered drunk or just batshit insane. Yeah.
For those of you listening out there, this is the greatest way to confuse your party. And if not everybody's there, it's a good way to keep the campaign rolling and let them play without bogging down your current story with only having 3 players.
I was the big metal thing that we were running away from, was it actually a subway?
That was a subway train, yeah.
Here I'm thinking it's like this giant metal snake that we gotta fight. No, it's a fucking subway. But
I thought the lights and the ka-thunk getting quicker towards you would give that away, but I guess you're staying in character.
Well, that, and I've never actually been on a subway. I've never been on a subway. The only thing I've ever been on was the light rail in Minneapolis. And I've been on a train out in Arizona when I went to like some old fashioned like western towns, theme towns. But yeah, I've never been on a subway. Ever.
So hear that, audience. Fly him out to New York so he can ride on the subway.
Yeah, fly me out to New York so I can go on a subway. Because I'm sure as hell not going to have the kind of money for that shit.
I was over in Europe when I went on my subway adventure.
Oh, go fuck off. I've never been out. I've been to Canada. That's about as international as I can go, is Canada.
So,
as far
we
as
should
news,
start posing each other questions.
I do have a little bit of news, though, that I found out during this week, and it was kind of interesting. White Wolf. You all know them as the people who've done, like, Vampire the Masquerade and books like that. Well, they've been kind of porting their stuff to mobile platforms in the form of interactive stories. And I've been meaning to check them out. I think they cost money, but it's the same guys who are doing all of the core books and the core storytelling. They're the ones doing this, and they're actually trying to prepare for a completely new remastered edition where it encompasses everything. Like changeling, vampires, werewolves, everything.
I thought that was just World of Darkness.
No, that is, but they're going to do it in a compendium book called The New World of Darkness.
Ooh,
where it's
like
not,
that.
Where it's not separate books like, oh, you need to get a changeling book, you need to get a vampire book, you need to get the werewolf book. No, everything is in one book.
So I'm guessing this is going to be like a really large book then.
I'm assuming it's going to be bludgeoning, size.
Well, they don't have to cover character creation like every book, so that's kind of a lot to cut out, and the combat rules get cut out, so I'm sure they can. I mean, it'll be a big book, but I don't think they'll need as many pages you guys are probably thinking.
Yeah, but no, I'm kind of intrigued about that. I haven't really read anything about any other. There's not a whole lot of tabletop talk going on there. Hey, that should be the name of the segment. Tabletop talk.
Tabletop talk. I'm gonna write that down.
There you go. Yeah, other than that, as far as news, not a whole lot. I'm still putting work into our Zoids campaign, the future one.
My God, I can't wait for that.
I'm excited.
Spud, what you're gonna like is I went through and found sprite sheets. I found a bunch, like 117 more Zoids that were in like the old DS and Game Boy Advance games.
Yes.
And we're gonna put in there. I'm taking out all the bio ones though, because like we talked about before, that's just
yeah, and I rewatched the New Century full all the way through, and I understood what the original Liger Zero and what the Berserk Fury was. They were actually the ones that had the living ones in them. That they were called the Ultimate X's because they had the dinosaurs
Yeah, they were able to learn from their battles and things like that. I have been looking into a virtual tabletop for us, because what I want to do is I want to take all these sprites and turn them into minis on a grid-based system. And I think I found one. I think it was like Open RPG. And it looks pretty good. Yeah, online virtual tabletop. It looked like we can use it. I'm still gonna need a little bit of tinkering, and like I said, it's gonna be for a while. But I think we can get this to work. I think it's gonna be kick-ass.
I'm excited, but I doubt our audience wants to hear us talk more about that until we get it actually streaming. So Should we jump on to posing each other questions?
Yeah, go for it. You're up first since you're the one who brought it up.
Well, I think since we're still a new podcast, we should talk about our early days playing D&D. I know we went into it a little bit, but I feel like we should talk a tiny bit about some of our first characters and why we liked and what hooked us on our first characters. I'll pose it to you, Mal.
Well, my first character was Grubnuts the Barbarian. Just a plain old half-orc barbarian. That was when I first started playing. It was when I first moved to Minneapolis with you. Yeah, and we end up having a lot of fun with that. And, it was more of just smash, smash, smash. And I really played up the smash part. I had a lot of fun with that, and that's kind of the reason I got hooked on it. And then you brought out Modern D20, and I absolutely fell in love with that. And I played Miles, which was a tough hero. He was a security guard.
I like how you still remember his name because all that campaign is gone for me.
I can remember. I still remember all of my characters' names. Like I have ones that were with Alec Munich. I have his campaigns. Like when I was playing Kithkin, and I think I played one other. No, I was only playing Kithkin because the other campaign is I helped DM that, and I just put everybody through hell. Literally, I made my own Diablo-esque frickin' dungeon where it was just 5 levels of a church. And it just got proceedingly worse and worse off for everybody. To the point where at the very end they were fighting fucking 3 or 4 basilisks and shit like that.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, I was... And everybody... This is when he had really shitty internet. So he had to run to the back room, open up the monster manual, download the monster manual, which took an hour. And luckily they had a couple pages. They had a really crappy physical copy with half the pages torn out. And everybody was running back. What the hell is this? Oh fuck! That's what I would just keep hearing. Just dun 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 dun. What is this? Oh fuck! Dun 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 dun. Shh, fuck you, Mike. That's what the shit that I kept getting, and that was just a blast of fun. I generally have always played Smash characters. This is my first, with Fail Stars, my first real social character. Everything else has usually just been, I'm going to hit you really hard with something that's even harder, and you're going to fall down from it. I was never, I never really cared for agility-based characters. Bleak, I know that's your forte. You love rogues and doing janky
I've only played one rogue. So.
Well, it's more of even when you and I are playing video games, you're always a fucking rogue. You're always.
I know. I wish.
You're always.
Is he?
You wish?
I was gonna say I wish I got to play more dexterity based. I usually pick a spellcaster or a fighting class, like a physical fighter, and that's generally what I play normally.
Yeah, I've always usually liked something with a big sword. Something I can just... Big sword, big hammer, big chunk of rock. Give me... If I can wheel it, I'm just going to hit you with it. No, this has been my first thinking person, real thinking character. I mean, even Old Man Bones is not a thinking character. He just sets you on fire and laughs at you and makes dirty comments. I miss Old Man Bones. We should definitely play another one off here later.
What about you, Spud? What do you got for highlights?
Well, in the past, I mean, you're making me go back almost 2 freaking decades here. Jesus Christ.
Well, if you can remember them, they must have stuck out to you,
Well, prior to character sheets, I just had some characters that did a lot of just... I didn't really do much. Because, we didn't really have character sheets. We just kind of had a story that we all just kind of hung together in with someone just kind of controlling the flow. There wasn't really much in terms of dice or anything. But the first character sheet one that I ever had was, I believe, a rogue. And I enjoyed the character. And I often had many many problems just because our DM was a bit of a dick, like I could be. As I guess that's where I learned it, was just how to set up some traps, and where I learned the word discern. You discern it to be disabled. That often got me killed. But it was also during that campaign or setting that I ended up hating monks with a severe passion, because we had a monk in our group with us, and everything I did, she could do better.
Like the
Including,
song.
yeah, it's like I was just thinking about that. It's like, oh, well, it's kind of like the song. Oh, well, damn, it really is. She could sneak better than I could. She could hit harder than I could. And I mean, it was ridiculous the amount of crap that she could do. It was like I wasn't even necessary. It made me sad.
Monks are BS. Let's just put it that way. They're really strong.
Which is why I, oftentimes, like for a while when I DM'd, I would often just say, no, I'm not going to allow monks. Because I just had an undying passion for them.
And that's why I don't allow them in my world either, usually.
What do you think of monks?
I've never really played as a monk. I've never really had anybody play a monk in any campaign. I've always kind of wanted to, just to have just a pure, unarmored, just, I'm going to punch you in the face and you're going to fall. Like, I've always wanted to play a monk. Like, I was even thinking about that earlier today at work, just like, you know what? Because during a point in time in the campaign that we're playing now, my bard was dead. And I entertained the thought, and I was looking through the character sheets about whether or not, if I give up on the bard, what do I go to next? Because I wanted to play something that I've never played before, because that was what we were trying to do. And I looked at the monk, and I made up a character sheet. And it's probably a character I probably want to play eventually later on down the road, but right until this point, I don't have a problem with monks.
You will. As soon as someone plays one in your campaign and then you can't stop it at all, then you'll have a problem with the monk.
Well, actually, no, that is a lie. The all-zombie campaign that I ran at work, I had one of the security guard, he played a monk. And he had this, like, detailed backstory about it, and I was like, okay. And I gave him he had like a necklace of skulls that were his previous master, all of his previous masters, so he's kind of had like a Dulcium thing going on. Well, I said, okay, they talk to you. All three of your masters will talk to you throughout the entire time. Nobody else can hear it. Nobody else is going to believe you, and everybody's going to think you're batshit crazy. And that's going to give you your power. If the necklace falls off of you or breaks, you take a negative to everything. You get like a -4 to everything. Because he really wanted, he really emphasized, like, in his order, he had to kill his previous masters to attain the rank of Master Monk and all of that. So I was like, okay, I like that. This is what's going to happen. You're going to get all of this power shit that you want. But if you lose your skull necklace, you're fucked. Because all you're going to hearing is your master's screams in your ears for the rest of your entire days. And he never lost it. It fell off of him a couple times because he just got uppercutted, and it was like, well, high or low, and he rolled like, well, the necklace has fallen off and now it's in a tree 20 feet up ahead of you or above you. Have fun. And then he just punched the tree and it would fall over. But I've never really, it wasn't really much of a campaign. We only did a couple sessions because he was leaving the job, and the slot attendant that I was also playing with, he was moving down to a different shift, so we kind of had to start wrapping it up, within the next couple sessions. So I really never got a chance to see the dickishness of a monk. So until I do, I have no problem with monks. That's my answer.
Well, it's not so much that someone can have a problem with being a dick. It's just how strong they can be. I mean, they did a lot of balancing when they came with 5th edition. I don't know about 4th. I don't even want to talk about 4th because just all the nightmares are heard about it. But apparently there was like a lot of balancing between 3.5 and 5. So I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be more balanced now. But even now, I find it hard to compete with the monk for a lot of things.
One thing I miss, and I know it's still kind of apparent in 5th edition, I forget about feats. Like, I remember in 3.5, feats were like the premier thing. And I loved going through and picking feats and trying to chain them together. I always forget about, like, when you hit 4th level and you get the ability scores, that you can trade them in for feats. It wasn't until halfway through, like the 4th or 5th session that we played, that I even bothered looking at the feats for the bard, and I saw the actor feat. Like, I was like, I even asked Bleak, I was like, can I just, even though it's finalized, I completely forgot about feats. Can I trade in my my ability score improvement so I can have this feat? And of course he said, yeah, and that's, because I'm not, what am I going to improve? I can't improve my charisma anymore. It's already at 20. So there's, what am I going to do? My dexterity or my constitution? I don't know.
Does it help you survive?
Well, I mean, being a reverent now, that improved me up 1. I think I did eventually take another one later on, but there was an ability. Part of being the reverend is that I also do get an ability score adjustment, where it's either 1 goes up by 2 or 2 goes up by 1. And I think I just put it back into constitution and dexterity. But I don't know, I just kind of missed feats because there was a little, it kind of felt like, me.
It was customizing a character.
Yeah, and it felt like, a little video gamey, because I've always loved fighters, where it's like, oh, this is my special move, power attack, or cleave or great cleave. I don't know. I always had fun with feats, and I completely forget that they exist in 5th edition. Even when I played my fighter, I completely forgot that feats existed.
And no, that's actually completely understandable because feats are really underappreciated in 5e because you can either take this route or this route that has feats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The feats are really strong, though. They combined a bunch of things into those feats, so they're worth more than the old feats are.
And I mean, from what I've read, I can see that. It just kind of felt like, even going through the character sheet in the book, where, the character creation, they're really, in 3.5, they really like, oh yeah, now you get to choose your feats. And they really embellished that. Now it's just kind of like, well, we have something over here down at the end of the book that's kind of cool. They're called feats. You might like it. It's not as much fanfare, it felt like. That's the word I was looking for, fanfare. But
I'll circle back around to myself for that same question I posed right in the beginning that I barely remember now.
What your first character was?
Well, not just my first character, like my first characters or one of my more interesting characters, but my first barbarian is one of my most memorable first characters. It was probably my 3rd character I ever played in a campaign, and I decided, well, I'm going to have a bone club. And I'm gonna name it Gnome Smasher. That was the name of my club. And then I met up with the party. Somehow I was in like a tent, and they just walked by, and I'm like, "Hey, you want to join our party?" Yeah, okay, sure. And then we started fighting in an orc invasion at a keep or something, and we're on the battlements pushing the orcs off. And my barbarian gets the good idea. Well, I'm pretty much invincible. I'm gonna jump off onto the pile of orcs and. I quickly found out how mortal you can be when you get stabbed like 4 times by orcs. You're just dead, just dead right there. And he was a short-lived character, but pretty memorable. And then I brought that character back, in theory, to one campaign I had played with Spud, where he was playing a fairy, and I really liked using him as a lockpick set because that's what a barbarian does.
Oh my god, that one campaign where I was playing the Trixie.
It was
And
the
you
one
sh-
where Max was DMing. We only played that one session, but
Oh,
I had a lot of fun playing that barbarian. The one that just messed with your mind. You left with a headache. It was as bad as
yes.
Jerem is.
You gave me the worst headache.
Needless to say, I am dying to play a barbarian again. I am dying to actually get to play a rogue because the one rogue I played, I snuck into someone's mansion, tried to steal something, ended up killing the guy, running away, and then getting killed by a troll
Mm.
in the woods.
Hold on.
Like, okay, I'm gonna escape into the woods. Bam, a troll. Just brained me right there, and that was my one rogue that I ever made.
Yeah, the only other character I can think of is after Grubnuts was Bartuk, which we kind of figured was Grubnuts' older brother. Because he was, well, actually, no, he just kind of transformed into Bartuk for a different session, and that's where the whole puffer sheep named Apples came from.
Mm-hmm.
And things got crazy because we had a lot of craziness on that team. We had one character who he had like a name with like 20 different letters in it. It was a 20 character name. And every time it was his turn, he would roll this d20, and whatever number it landed on was represented to a different letter of his name, which gave him a different personality.
Bob, or was it Eric?
No, that was Bob. Because we were playing that at Ben's house. And Bob was sitting right next to you. And yeah, that was just a weird thing because it took him forever because he'd roll it and he'd be like, oh, 17. Which one's that? That's Ingrid, who's depressed all the time, doesn't want to do anything. Okay. What's going on, guys?
It was kind of fun because the campaign I think ended with him talking to Jerem, and they were both like going crazy, and it was like an hour or two back and forth.
I remember us going up against a lot of lizard men and like a queen bitch, and I suggested that me and him go up front because he was a barbarian too, or at least he was a big melee class, and everybody else cover us because I think we all nothing but had like archers and mages and a couple clerics. That was the big session. That was like 8-person sesh, and you had given me a potion, and I remember that, and I drank the potion just before the battle, and I end up like merging with my sheep, and I end up having like a wool vest, a tail, and a wool hat, and I became what was like the sheep sage?
Yeah, you were in Sheep Sage mode,
Which was
referencing Naruto and Bleach in that one.
Yeah, because I was basically like doing the little thing that Bleach characters do, that shunpo, where they just appear 1 minute and they like teleport a certain area, and I could fire off Ceros. It was crazy, but then my sheep was gone. Like after the potion wore off, my sheep disappeared, and I had to go find it again. And that was the last session that we had of that. So I never actually found my sheep. I kept dreaming of them though. Like the sheep was just like in a mountaintop village somewhere, just chilling, eating apples.
Yeah.
Do you still have that picture of the sheep sage?
Somewhere on my computer.
I know somewhere. I won't be on this one because this is a brand new hard drive because my other one crapped out. But I know somewhere on the internet, there's a sheep sage.
I actually think it's on my DeviantArt page. And I think it's also my name, Bleakborn, as the DeviantArt.
Let's see here.
For those that don't know, they can go look that up.
Circling back to me again, I just had a thought. Spud, I didn't play my first bard in your campaign. My first bard was called the Greasy Bard. After that barbarian died, I made the bard. That was my next character, and he ended up retiring instead of dying because he thought it was more profitable to open a tavern called the Greasy Bard Tavern eventually. But he was one of my favorite characters ever, but he didn't do anything like any bard in 3.5. They don't do shit. but he would throw grease in every fight. Like, that was his go-to. He'd throw it in the area, and then people would light it on fire, or he'd use it to rout enemies. He was very utilitarian, but man, he did not do anything besides that.
I have, in a lot of the campaigns that you have ran, Bleak, you have had the Greasy Bard Tavern. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
he's a recurring character. But we are probably time for someone else to pose another question to the round table here.
Well, I think that'll be me.
Oh, fine. I see how it is. It's all about you.
You asked a question. I don't remember what the question was, but you asked it. No, you didn't. Never mind. That was Bleak. He asked about our first characters. Well, I'll go next anyway. Going back to what we were, you were talking about your disdain for monks. Yeah, that's the word I was totally looking for, and I had it at the top of my head and didn't stumble on. What are your favorite characters? What are the characters that you've always loved playing, and which are the ones that you've always wanted to play?
You're referring to classes, right?
Yeah. Just even if it's a certain archetype, what have you always wanted to play? Me personally, I've always wanted to play a straight level illusionist. Nothing else, just illusion magic. I always kind of had this image in my head of this just badass dude having all of these, illusions fight for me kind of thing. Because I've fought a lot of, nightmares and fought a lot of illusion things, and I've always thought it was so cool. It's I'm fighting it and I'm hitting it, but it's not doing nothing. I always kind of had that image in my head where I just, have this illusionary army go after somebody and just murder them, only to find out that it was just a figment of their imagination. I don't know, it's just always one of the things I've always wanted to play.
What about you, Spud? What's one of yours?
Well, I've played so many different types that it's hard for me to really say about what I would want to try. The things I really enjoyed most were either... Well, I've always been a player of really unique things. That's one thing I've always loved to do.
I can attest for that.
But I think as far as just classes in general go, I really enjoy Rogue the most. Just because I've always played a utility Rogue, and they were always my favorite thing. Just because of all the skills, how useful you are to the party and whatnot. And, you always got to think. Because if you're a utility Rogue, well, you're not doing much damage, so you got to make sure that you're doing the best you can everywhere else. Beyond that, a really close by would be a fighter, like a 3/5 fighter, because 3/5 fighter, human, you just get all those feats and you just keep stacking on the feats, and I loved every last one of them.
Just a feat machine.
Yeah, I freaking loved that.
But has there been ever a class where in any campaign where it's God, I really wish I could have played, I want to play this. Oh, we already got somebody like that. Shit.
Well, I've always been a niche filler. I would always play the thing that the group needs. So which kind of can pigeonhole me into a healer role at times. I've never really. I mean, it's not that I really cared a whole lot as to what I played as far as wanting to play. I mean, I don't know. I can't even think of anything that I really wanted to play as far as a class that I haven't played yet. Because I've pretty much tried just about everything.
What about now the different, say the difference between how Bleak was talking about how bards were completely useless in 3.5 until they got to 7th or 8th level where they finally actually got some access to some good spells. But now that everything has changed with with 5th edition, and bards having so many access to spells, the difference between a valor bard and a lore bard, things like that. I mean, anything that you've looked at in 5th edition, it's this would be really fucking cool to play.
I'm playing that now.
Oh yeah, ding.
Ding-a-ling-ling.
He's just a really fun character. I mean, the character I was playing, I've never really been a huge fan of druids, but I figured, you know what? I've not really tried druids, so I can't really say. So I made a druid and figured it's not for me because, one, his personality just really didn't mesh well with the group, and that's something that I probably should have considered beforehand.
Yeah,
But then again, I didn't know the rest of the group.
Yeah, we're a bunch of janky people, and we do things underhandedly. Nope, I'm going to be a noble who's an upright citizen who does nothing illegal. You were in the wrong. We had, the predominant rogue. We had me who was trying to talk our way out of everything. And nope.
Yeah, let's break into a city through the sewers. I'm going to wait out here.
And I will officially just, play video games for the next 2 sessions while you get into the sewer, and I just kind of stand out here with an NPC.
I believe that's exactly what I did, yes.
Actually, you filled in for one of our characters that were missing, so it was perfect.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I think I still played games, though.
I'm sure you did.
Poor Al, or not Al, frickin' Ben.
It was Al that was gone that session, though.
Yeah, but Al was the rogue. Ben was our cleric.
Ben wasn't in that session, though. He was in the previous session. The previous game.
Oh, okay,
But
that's right, when I was the fighter.
I guess for me,
Oh, yeah, Appendex.
my favorite character class to play is probably Barbarian. Just because you just don't die, you do a lot of damage, you have a lot of fun. If the party's taking too long to decide on something, you just break down the door and ignore them. It's my favorite class because they're gonna have to, follow your lead and not really,
Well,
no planning involved here.
Well, let me ask, since barbarians are really the do now think later kind of character. Has that really ever gotten you into like some serious trouble where you just like, you know what? There's something going on over there. I want to be part of that, so I'm going to go do that.
Actually, it has actually saved me a bunch of time, which is reassuring my charge first, ask question later mentality. I was at the gates of a orc or a goblin-filled dungeon, and it was the king and everything. I mean, and there was like a lot of them, and then I'm just like, we're trying to sneak by, and I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna attack the king. So I just jump off a ledge, come down with my greatsword, and kill the king. And then there's thousands of goblins in front of me. Let's just say Cleve did a lot of work that day. This is 3.5, and then I got all the way up to. I managed to cut a big swath through, get back up the stairs, and just started using my greatsword as a shield to push down the goblins until we got out. But I killed the king. That was worth it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
And I didn't die. This time I didn't jump off of battlements into a squadron of orcs with spears.
Yeah, I mean, like the reason I had to ask was just I had recently played a barbarian in 5th edition, and it's not really gotten me in trouble, but it's gotten my party in trouble. Because it's like we're sneaking into a city. We got to be careful. There's fights going on all over the place. I see some people harassing some civilians that were there. It's like, fuck this. And I just charge right into the group and just start beating the shit out of them. It's like, those our party's like, oh, son of a... And so they just start coming along and just start fighting to help the citizens. I kind of had a good barbarian. It was a dragonborn, so...
Yeah, I just feel like the lack of thinking allows you to be more creative on like your whole like character,
Oh, absolutely. And but the thing is, it's like I really shouldn't be doing this. I'm like out of character, like, oh my god, I'm going to get myself killed, but I gotta play the character, otherwise it's just not right. It's like, oh, I'm gonna die, so I just charge in.
And sometimes you realize it's just a game and it's just fun, so just do it.
Yeah.
Screw logic.
Anytime my barbarian's gotten involved, it usually ends up in a lot of gold worth of collateral damage. I remember when I was playing Grubnuts, a simple dwarven drunken brawl turned into me destroying the tavern. I think Bleak put me and a wizard because it was just us two, and they put us on a ship with, or he put us on a ship with Bob and Steve, and a bunch of goblins came through and on their ship, and were like, fire the cannon at it. So I fired the harpoon cannon at it, went through that ship, pissed off like a giant octopus or kind of hydra thing. I end up smashing that down, or smashing the hydra down, cutting into the boat, smashing the boat, and basically floating to the next town or the next town on whatever we could find that was salvageable. I think I floated on a captain's door. But yeah, basically anytime I got a barbarian, everything breaks. Like, whether or not I'm the one doing it, like during the tavern brawl, I can't remember if it was a minotaur or some big ass. I think it might have been a minotaur or a troll or something. But I would run up. You know, if you guys, you know, I know Bleak has seen it, but Spud, have you seen Dragon Ball Z Abridged?
How could I not?
You remember in the second Cooler movie where Vegeta is just, that's it, you son of a bitch, I'm gonna get you, and he just flies back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was my barbarian, and I just kind of went through different areas of the tavern because I would run up, just, fuck this. I'd hit him, I'd get smacked through a different part of the tavern. I'd come back, smash, get smacked, bitch smacked through another part of the tavern, and eventually the tavern just fell on me.
I don't remember any of that, but it sounds great.
Yeah, it's just, if I play a barbarian, there's collateral damage involved, so I should never be the responsible one in the party.
And for some reason, when I play a barbarian, I tend to take the leader of the party.
But,
They kind of do that, though.
well, you don't need the leader to be smart. You just need him to be the first person to get hit with something, so you know shit's about to go down. and who best than the damage sponge? But Bleak, going back to the question now, in 3.5 and 5th edition, is there any classes that you've not played that you've just been like, you know, I cannot wait till I can get in and I can play this?
Well, back in 3.5, I actually never played a legit monk, never played a paladin. I played one cleric, one druid, one rogue, like 6 barbarians, like 30 fighters, couple rangers. So really, I barely played wizards either. It was mostly sorcerers. So if I went back, I'd want to try a monk out in 3.5. But now in 5th edition, I haven't got to play any classes yet. Being the DM, I kind of have to just let you guys play things. So any of those classes, I'd love to try out.
You are
besides wizard.
I was gonna say you're technically playing a necromancer in our one-offs.
Yeah, besides the wizard though, I would like to try because some of those maneuvers on the wall are fun. I'd love to try that. Circling back to the first question too, is that I really want to play. A playstyle I like is like the 2 wielding blades, 1 in each hand. Fast and quick, you know, that's one of my other favorite concepts to play. It could be a rogue or a blade or a ranger, even a fighter, but just that dual wielding, very not practical at all, but it's cool. But my most despised class is also the monk. I want to play it, but I also hate it because it's so strong in most everything. And the one thing about them in what's the 3.5 is you could get those vows, and the vows work perfectly with the monk. And you could get the vow of what's it called? Poverty, where then you start getting bonuses to not having any weapons or magical things. It was great. And then sieging into a saint, you could do so much damage. But what about you, Mal? What's your least favorite class?
I don't know. I mean, even if I'm DMing, the one that always kind of annoyed me, and it was never anything that you know, it was never a campaign that I ran with you guys. It goes back to Al. not R.L., not Elsifer, Nielsen. He always wanted to play. He always played rogues, and he put so much stuff into sneak and hide where he could literally roll a 2 and he'd still be perfectly in cover. And it was just, what do you do? I hide. It was always he never really got into the fighting at all. He just hid. That's basically the entirety of what he did. I hide.
It's so boring.
I know, and it just kind of like, I tried to give him some cool shit. Like, I had like 2 twin bladed daggers, kind of like what was it, Kudai's sword from Final Fantasy VII, the twin katana, but it was just a dagger. And they were 2 of them on a chain. So he could, like, nunchuck somebody, and he could just run up, and it would do poison damage. Like, it was, I think I call it, like, the snake bite daggers or something like that. Just something that came off the top of my head. Never fucking used it. Never. And that always just kind of irritated me, but that was in 3.5. I don't really have a hate class in 5th edition, just because we've only played a couple rounds of that. As far going back to 3.5, I've played pretty much. I've never played a paladin or monk. I tried to play. I made a druid, never survived. Didn't even like it. It came into the world and then died immediately because the world was on fire, kind of thing. And I put a lot of work in it. I put like 6-7 hours trying to balance it out, trying to get him everything to like twine and intertwine with each other. And then our dwarf gets drunk and burns the world down. So I never even got to play it. And
so what you could say is that some dwarves just want to watch the world burn.
Pretty much, and she's the reason I've never made a druid since.
That's why she's not allowed to play a bard either.
Yeah. The main class I've played in 3.5 has always been a cleric, because when it came to like the prestige classes, I kind of had like an idea set out on how I wanted to get this character through to those levels. I had one cleric turn into a mystic theurge. I had one turn into an elemental savant. I had one that was just a straight undead killer. Like, everything was in holy magic. And so I pretty much played the hell out of the cleric class in 3.5. Barbarians too. I don't think I've played many fighters. But in 5th edition, I've only played a wizard, which is Old Man Bones, my fighter, which is Appendex, and then Failstar, which is my bard. And the next character I probably do is probably going to be a Valor Bard, because I kind of want to see what they can do. Because it's more of a weapon-oriented thing.
So going back to bard again?
I'm thinking about it. I mean, there's still a lot of classes. Like, this might be a good time to pull off just like the pure illusionist class. I do have a monk made up. I don't think I ever gave him a name, but he exists. He just doesn't exist anywhere else. Yeah, I also did make a cleric. Yeah, he's just a level 5 monk. I don't know. It just kind of, looking at the books, because I was comparing 3.5 to 5 when Failstar was dead, and I don't know. It kind of seems like they combined a lot of stuff with the monk, like a lot of different moves and attacks, and I don't know. I'm not really feeling it as so much as nowadays. Like, even a cleric gets like ridiculous amounts of stuff at first level.
So then, when you say you're not feeling it so much, as in, are you saying you prefer 3.5 or 5 more?
It's kind of a little bit of both. Like, I really like 5, 5th edition, especially with the bard, because I do get a lot more options. I mean, all of my, like I said, I have one offensive ability, Vicious Mockery, until I get to 6th level, when I can get offensive magic through other books. But if I look right now at the spells of 5th edition for bard, I don't get any real offensive magic. And normally I would be kind of pissed at that, but there's so many situational things that it's kind of fun to have to try to plan out my, attack every time I level up. I gotta plan out, okay, which spell do I take out, which one do I put in. At first level, I get Dissonant Whispers. Second level, I can get Cloud of Daggers. Nothing really in third level except for Bestow Curse, but that's only just gives me a bonus. No offensive magic in fourth or fifth or sixth level or anything. Well, Eye Bite, I guess I could use. But I'm as much as I don't have the offensive magic, I love the fact that I kind of have these utility powers that in most cases aren't going to work, but the one time it does, it's fucking awesome. And I know with a Valor Bard, it does change up a little bit. Where I still get access to the spells, but I get more, Bleak was talking about the maneuvers. I get more those kind of things. It would be kind of nice to see, still being the cocky bastard that I am, but this time I can actually put a greatsword in your mouth and, have it actually do something kind of thing. Yeah, as far as 5th edition is, the Bard is my favorite class.
Kind of the only one we played a long enough session for you, though.
Well, the Fighter, we did, but I don't know. I was never really crazy about the Fighter just because it didn't really feel like there was a lot of personality. It's just, I have 1,000 ways to kill you, but no real way of looking good doing it.
What are you talking about? You had the teleporty sword and all this flamboyantness. You were if you weren't wearing a rainbow beard in that campaign, you should have been.
I don't think Appendex had a beard at all. Yeah, you're all right. When you go to the Eldritch Knight at 3rd level, yeah, then you get some janky shit, and then you're able to cast spells. But if you don't go the route of the Eldritch Knight and you go to the Champion or something like that, it's basically just better ways of putting a sword into somebody. I don't know.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, but I do like a little bit of flair. Yeah, I can easily, just stab until it's dead. The only reason why, the fact that I took the Eldritch Knight, I was able to teleport my sword, which then melted, and then you gave me a sword filled with, a million different souls that just argued with me. I don't even think I used it after that. No,
we stopped after that session.
Yeah, because and you just had me melt Zangetsu. Because, yeah, I actually made, Zangetsu from Bleach into there. And that was my teleporting sword. Things like that was cool, but there's no usefulness in combat unless I'm dealing a killing blow where I just throw my sword up in the air, put it, as he's looking at it, oh, okay, what the hell is he doing? And then teleport it back in my hand and then just shove it through him. I like being able to have more answers than just stab. That's the kind of, at least, the Bard has definitely shown me that, and because before, it's always been stab. Maybe with a cleric heal, I'll let you live, and maybe I'll, some, turn undead and stuff like that, and a few extra powers, but I don't know, I've kind of gotten bored of the whole just stab. I want to do maybe one stab, do a double backflip backwards, yell at him, make it, do psychic damage, and then turn invisible. Or just go into the ethereal plane and just be like, see ya, and then open a door and then disappear. And then sneak behind him and stab him again.
That sounds like you need to combine Rogue and Bard, I think, for what you want to do.
Negative. There is a Bard spell that'll let me do that. I don't get it yet, but I do have the ability to do such things.
Well,
I know it's a level 4 spell, but
should we circle back to Spud to let him pose his question? We've been going on for 50-some minutes now already.
Nah. Yeah, go ahead, Spud.
Well, I had two, but for the sake of time, Let me just. I forgot what the other one was. Screw it. Back to the first one. Anyways, posing a quick question. Where do you draw a lot of your inspiration from when you DM?
That was going to be my next question if I had one.
But you don't, so it doesn't count.
Well, I think Mal should go first on this one, since he likes going first anyway.
Of course. A lot of it actually comes from video games. Like when we were talking about before the recording, like some of our favorite traps and the favorite things that we've done. Like, you know, I brought up the painting, where you end up like getting trapped inside this painting and you have to confront, you know, the darkest parts of the, you know, whatever character's backstory. I got the basis of that from what the hell was it? I don't remember if it was in the core game or if it was in the Shivering Isles, but for Oblivion, a painter dude had like this enchanted paintbrush, and he ended up getting sucked inside this painting, and you had to fight off a whole bunch of paint trolls and stuff like that. But I thought that was the coolest way to, basically jump into a new world, even if it was just situational and you only got to do it one time. I always thought that was so cool to get sucked into your own personal hell or personal area where you're only by yourself. You have nobody else to count on. I always thought things like that were cool, and I mean, I guess it's in a lot of things. Even when I'm playing, say Bleak has he comes up with a cool like trap. The mystifying maze where you end up like having a cloud of smoke and confuses all of us, and we're all like in different parts of the air, in this world, and like, oh, you find yourself over a lava bridge and you're fighting a kobold who's using a greatsword. But it turns out that we're all fighting each other, and it's just a confusing smoke kind of thing, or a disorienting smoke. Even things like that, Bleak, I have used that against other players and other campaigns. It works great. So playing, especially like video games like RPGs, and those are the best ways to, even if it's just an idea, and then I can kind of flush everything out afterwards. But it's, usually I get my ideas from playing D&D or any sort of tabletop game, and pretty much any video game I've played, anime, I've put in a couple fights with. It's just, I seen it in an anime, and I want to like, I wonder how this would work with just in this setting with this. Even at work, we had the power go out at the casino one day, and it was dark at night. The lights, the tube lighting that we've had, Bleak, it's the old rainbow lights.
Mm-hmm.
And those were on, but none of the machines were on. Everything else was black. And it was just this kind of weird rainbow coloring, light that's only, it's the only light you can see. And I stood in the middle of the casino, and everybody was freaking out because they didn't know what the hell was going on. And my boss came up to me, he's like, "What the hell are you doing just standing here?" I'm like, "Boss, look at this. Just take a look at this whole scene. This would be an awesome fight scene. Location for a fight scene. A dead casino, even if it's just like zombies playing a dead casino, they're just hitting the buttons." I saw that from Dead Rising 2. There was an area in the game where you can go into a casino, and there's zombies like sitting in the chair, hitting the button, the spin button. It cracked me up, and I'm like, this would be a great location for a battle.
Boss, you gotta check this out. Would it be awesome if a fight started here?
Pretty much. That's exactly how I brought it up to him. I'm like, just look at it. Take out the fact that we're at work and not actually having a fight. But in any other, like a book or a movie or a show or a game, this would be a really fucking cool place to have a fight scene. Make it, expand it, because we didn't have a big casino at that time, but like, where there's enemies hiding behind machines, you can tip a machine over on somebody and you have to worry about the pillars, and it was always just a cool idea for me to have a casino fight scene. So it's kind of a lot of everything, whether it be video games or playing D&D or any sort of tabletop, and just unique ideas that just kind of pop into my head. That's my answer.
Just kind of.
Pretty much. That's
Well-
kind of how like 90% of the ideas that I write down happen. I'll just be sitting here and be like, you know, it'd be kind of interesting, a ninja and a Texan playing poker in a tournament, and it gets all intense. Like he closes up on the eyes as the cards start falling down, and at the very end, the ninja breaks and then cuts his own throat, and the Texan's just like, I like the way you play. You have won this tournament. And he just walks off, leaving the dead ninja just to, like, hold up, you know, like they rig him up on wires and he's holding up the big big fucking, I won the poker tournament check, and then Pez comes out of his neck. Just a stupid little cartoon that popped into my head one time, and I've written it down.
Al, it's your turn.
Well,
Ah.
my inspiration generally comes from video games first, anime second, and third, books and movies.
You come up with no ideas on your own then, huh? You
you
unoriginal scrub!
Everything has been done before is the first thing you have to think about.
Yeah, I don't ever think about it like that. It's just
I
like,
try to mash things together. So it's like this plus this makes this. Instead of trying to make something original, it's a lot easier. Because a lot of work has to go into making an original. And then you just find out, oh, that's been done before. You wasted a lot of time. So do your research first, I think, is probably the biggest one. But
see, I've never cared about that. It's usually just kind of, I don't give a shit if something's been done before. I can do it. You know, there's no rule against it. Just, I don't know.
But some of my favorite like races and stuff I've ripped off from other worlds, but added something to them. You know,
Yeah.
or a certain class or archetype or like a storyline. I've like, oh, I could do that, but I want to add this and this and this to make it feel like it's in my world or it's my campaign. So it's hard to say where everyone's inspirations come from, but sometimes my biggest inspiration is from a piece of artwork. I gotta like find a piece of artwork that kind of represents a character for me to really grasp the whole like character or world or anything, and kind of build a big envelope full of or a file full of photos and pictures of just the world, and it kind of goes from there. Also, good ideas come from nature too. Some of the weirdest things that live and breathe out in nature. So that's pretty much my answer. What do you got, Spud?
Well, I mean, sure, I get a lot from the games I play and the stuff I watch. That's pretty much a given. Art will often lead in one direction or another. Maybe spawn like a little this here or a little that there. But I would actually say, I mean, last time we went over like our styles of how we DM, mine was a bullshitter where I just come up with stuff often on the spot. And when I think about what direction to go, I often, or like even so much as just say, what's the next thing going to happen? For example, I would, when I was running the 3.5 campaign, I would actually look in the monster manual. Okay, my group is about this level. I'll look for the challenge ratings and see what's roughly about that place. And then when I find one that I like, it's like, okay, I close the book, just kind of toss it, and it's like, okay, so this is where you guys are going now. So it's just what I know the party can handle, more or less. I'll often throw them in that kind of direction. So I guess you could say almost knowing what's ahead will kind of give me the inspiration, whereas songs for an overall, games for like little gimmicks or spurts here and there. But a lot of the long haul I will get from music.
Yeah, I guess I grab from music too. I'll find something and listen to it while I'm writing, and it kind of drives the tone of like the story that I'm working on.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it helps that when a person, I suppose, is kind of a odd way to say it, but someone that's really creative, like whether you draw, whether you do art, or even if you do music, like those sort of people will actually be able to come up, depending on how you actually write, draw, or make music, will be able to also kind of dictate what kind of DM you'd be. Whereas, like, I write just by, oh, so this should be happening now, so I'm just going to do that, and I will jump around in my writing a lot as to which part of the story I'm writing, and then later on I'll link it all together. So when I'm DMing, I'll be thinking, okay, so here's where they're going, and I'll just link it from where they are now to then, and I'll have these monsters along the way, kind of thing. It's not that I really do much of an overall plan. So,
And sometimes it's nice though.
mm-hmm.
I try to have an overall plan, but I always spend too much time focusing on instances. Like, oh, this battle's going to be awesome because I'm going to do this, and this, and this, and this. And then I completely forget the rest of the world. Like, I end up putting all of my time in certain scenes, and then I kind of just wing it the rest of the way. Like you were talking about with the challenge rating and monsters, I've never once... Like, I looked at the thing, or the monster manuals and all that. I never once paid attention to the challenge rating. I always just adjusted it accordingly. Like, I had a group of a bunch of level 3s. I think it was like 3 level 3s. Well, I just adjusted a chain devil and I threw it at him. Because I thought, God, this is such a cool enemy. I just want to use it. Fuck it. I'm just going to use it. And I would use all of their attacks at full strength, but I'd always adjust like the AC and the HP a little and maybe some of the damage, and I don't know, just I always like things that are cool instead of things that, logistically work. Like, I would totally put like a Tarrasque against somebody, a group of just level 5s, but just adjust it so it's like be the stats of like a baby Tarrasque, just the size of it. And, go ahead, fight it. Or get out of it, get out of fighting it, do whatever you want to do. But I'd always just adjust it just because it would be for a cool battle. I always wanted the battle, any sort of fight that we got into to be cool. Like when we were doing the vampire thing. I had a different idea on how I wanted to end that last fight of the casino. But the fact that I just, I was like, fuck it. I'm giving you access to every weapon in the game. Use what you want. And just start blowing the shit out of stuff. Ended up working pretty damn cool. At least,
I had a lot of fun with my Tamitsi there, where I broke through the elevator door and shoved a grenade through myself and shoved it in there.
Yeah,
that was just great.
It was never more about, I always thought of the books as more of just, these are kind of our ideas on how how we think it should be. But even in like, if you look at the first pages of Vampire the Masquerade, it says, use these rules however you want. You don't like it, throw it out. You like it, keep it. It was always that kind of freedom. And even with the monster manual, or at least the enemies there, it just, do what you want with it. This is what, we're just bringing you numbers and stats with cool pictures. Use it how you want it. And I kind of always felt, treated every, player's handbook or monster manual that way. Just,
the code is more like guidelines.
Yeah, it really is. It's more like a guideline.
My Barbosa's really bad.
You actually could have just talked in your normal voice and you've gotten a lot closer.
What, Barbosa? Really?
Barbosa is not a high-pitched character.
Oh, I was trying to add more gravel to it.
No, it got squeakier. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Shut up. Leave me alone.
You sucked on a thing of helium before you tried that.
Okay, maybe I did. Leave me alone. I like balloons.
It's... I don't know. It was always just kind of things like that. And sometimes I would just create a random enemy right off the top of my head. I can't think of any instances which I've done such thing, because usually, at least with 3.5... Because that's the system that I've DM'd the most. Besides that, in like D20 Modern. But Bleak, I know in the D20 Modern campaign that you ran, you had like this dude in bone armor riding a skeletal dragon with a bone sword. It was just like he was just bone. You know, I don't remember ever seeing that in any book, so I'm pretty sure you made that up. It was just a character that you had drawn and you'd made up.
It's all started with a helmet and a sword that I drew, and then I expanded it into an entire character.
Yeah.
But I usually have to start with art first. It's kind of my biggest one. It's like, even if I'm the one doing the artwork, I gotta start there, and then... So a lot of my campaign worlds and stuff takes so long to flip and do, because I have to do all the artwork first, just to kind of get my feeling for it, and then start working on the actual, like, world design.
You know,
But I found that Pinterest works really well for compiling ideas really quickly. Not have to do so much digging anymore.
I haven't really looked at Pinterest in a long time. Like I had an idea for a custom campaign kind of thing where, and I just had it too. I just had because I was looking at something on my desktop and it showed up.
You might as well save that for our next episode and let the viewers kind of...
I guess, yeah, next episode we can talk about our favorite campaign ideas and realms and things that we've done and things that we wish we can do, kind of thing. I guess we can say that for later.
Yeah. Well, we've gone for an hour and 15 minutes. Do we feel like closing up, or do you think we have more in us?
I believe that was longer than we had originally intended.
Okay, so we should do our final thoughts and then get into plugging for ourselves and saying goodbye.
And the question. One must not forget the question.
Yep, one of you get to come up with the question. I came up with the first one.
It's on you, Bleak.
Yep.
Why do I have to? I have to come up with a campaign every week.
It's the
Don't care.
Do you realize the whole not it policy? Like, that doesn't stop ever. It's the not it policy is always a thing. That's canon. I'm not it. Spud's not it. You're it.
Okay, I got something, kinda.
All right, but we got to do our shameless whoring out and other things first.
Yeah, we also got to wrap up. So, is there any last points that we want to make before we close off this podcast for the evening?
Well, I will say that we did talk a lot about D&D. I will admit that I really enjoy a lot of the other campaigns, and honestly, the way the books have been going, I'm kind of getting burned out on D&D itself, and I'm really looking forward to other kind of campaigns myself.
I agree. I mean, I am getting... I do have kind of like a newfound enjoyment in 5th edition just because I'm getting to play classes and characters that I've never gotten to play, such as Felstar. But yeah, I'm also kind of getting a little burnt out on the fantasy element just because 90% of all RPGs are a fantasy RPG. You're fighting a dragon, you're fighting an orc. My favorite campaigns have always been something other than that, whether it be, one of your futuristic mech campaigns, Bleak, or a D20 modern campaign, or a Vampire the Masquerade campaign. It's always kind of fun to see, be able to do the things that we do in D&D, but in a more modern setting or even a futuristic setting, because the rules are a lot different there. I can't just hack a terminal in a tavern, or I can't use cybernetics to probe a dude's mind or something like that. It's usually kind of based around the same fantasy elements that we've seen all the time. So yeah, I am looking forward to playing and DMing something that's not so much in the fantasy world, but more in a modern... It's still fantasy, but you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Bleak?
I guess my recap, or closing
Final
statement.
thoughts.
My thoughts. I guess with Dusty with Spud on this one, we've barely touched any other systems or any other kind of role playing. I feel like we're not forgetting you guys out there, so keep listening at least. And
how about this? Next episode is nothing about Dungeons and Dragons, that system. It's about everything else.
Expect a
Sounds
long
good.
one.
I take your silence as, new territory.
I was saying,
What?
expect a long one.
Yeah, I've done a lot of custom campaigns set outside of D&D, and they're always a lot of work.
But
But they're always a lot of fun.
those are some of my
So-
most memorable campaigns that I've played in. But
That's
Fantasy-
actually where the characters I actually have memorable characters from outside of D&D. My D&D characters are oddly pretty generic.
We might just be spoiled. We've played too much fantasy. But thanks everyone for listening to this long episode.
the other
Um,
one was longer.
Anything else for the audience?
Hawk your shit.
Well, you can find me at youtube.com/Malatach. This is where you others come in and plug your shit.
You can find me, Bleakborn, at YouTube/Bleakborn. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and there was something else, but I'm totally blanking on it. So, yeah.
It's probably,
Well, because
it's
he's
probably
up here.
it's probably Pornhub.
Oh,
That's also
well.
that's also where you can find Bleakborn.
Oh my. Oh. And
I think
don't
I think Spud grew a white hair on that one.
Okay, going on. And don't forget to follow us on our channel, which is DMs and Dicebags. Also, we're DMs and Dicebags on Twitter as well. And if you want, you can send us an email at dmsanddicebags@gmail.com.
All right.
And now for the question. You are sitting in a tavern when you hear a loud crashing sound coming from outside. You step out and you see a gigantic walrus crashing through the city. What do you do?
That high pitch, though.
What do you do?
Oh my god.
Please
Who
leave
the-
a comment down below with your answer, and we'll pick the best one, and that'll be our answer for the next episode.
First and foremost, who did that? Who did the high pitched? Just before
That-
you told them to comment and like and subscribe and below and all that. Who did the high pitchedness?
I'm sure that was Spud.
Oh my god! Don't ever do that again. Again, warn a brother next time when we all have earbuds in our heads and oh god, I think my ears are bleeding. Nope.
Well, this is DMs and Dicebags signing off. Thank you guys for listening.
Yep.
Tit-ra.
May all your rolls be natural.